Hi, good morning, everyone. This is Uncle Yang. Today is March 1st. I believe everyone saw the news. Iran got attacked, and their Supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, got killed. That's great news for the Iran people, from Uncle Wang's point. Why is that? Because Khamenei is their previous leader who just got killed. They did massive criminals to his own people. Okay, the people live there. They don't have internet. They cannot use internet. They cannot use a smartphone. People here every day use the phone, doing the stuff on the phone, right? They cannot access any open resource information. And then they cannot do, of course, the free speech. They cannot have the right to vote the leaders or presidents that they want to vote. So the people they have been suffering, they've been controlled by violence and fears, and now they have a very, very good chance to take their country back, right? So we will all see what's going to happen next. And Uncle Yang really hope their people can take over the control of their own country and land, and from now on they can build up a civilized country. Okay. But today, because this news, I want to talk about the history of Iran, and mainly it's actually the history between Iran and Israel. So many of you probably don't know those history, especially young people. The school here, when I moved here, I realized the school here don't talk too much about the history in other countries. They teach the U.S. history, but they barely teach the history for the rest of the world. A lot of people don't know those history, but I think it's not just if you're interested in it, but it's kind of important to me to understand those history. So a human being, because you are the future, those young people are the future, so we cannot make the same mistake over and over again. So when I say Israel and Iran history, most people don't know they actually two have a very strong connection and bonding with each other. Very strong. They are like two brothers. Okay, that's how strong that is. And probably only the Iran and Israel people learn that history, but the rest of the world don't know. So in this video, I hope after you're watching, you will know what's really going on. You saw the news, the U.S. attacked that, but people will think it's because of oil, all that, but it's more than that. Maybe because save the people there, maybe because the U.S. want the oil, maybe because Trump want to win the middle election, all those reasons. But there's another reason from the Dao's perspective is that's what Israel people, the Jewish people, they owe Iran's people in the history. So now they use this way to pay that back. And I will talk about that now. Before Khamenei, the current leader, Iran's leader, got killed, their previous king is called Pahlavi, Muhammad Pahlavi. You can Google his name, you can Google his story, but in short, he was welcomed and loved by his people. So before today's Iran used to be a free country. They have a strong economy because they have oil. How can you be poor when you sit upon the oil like a full of oil? Look at Dubai. Look at the other Middle East country who has oil. If you really control if you really do a good job for your country as a leader, your country should not be poor. Your people should not be poor. You should have enough money to get everybody live in a comfortable level of life, right? But today's Iran, everybody see how bad their living standard is. So that's because the Khamenei, the current leader who just got killed, he did it totally wrong, right? He did a lot of crimes to his people. The previous king, WarII, he he actually totally the opposite. He ruled the country real good. He gave people enough freedom. He built a strong economy for that country, so people have a happy life. And even today's Iran people, they still think about him and his family. He like I said, he was a king, so of course that's a royal family in Iran. Iran's royal family. And where his rest of family at now? They in the U.S. Right? I don't know which state, but if you Google, you will find out their family in the Maryland area, somewhere like that. But nobody know the detail, of course, for their safety purpose. And then so King WarII, his wife, she been have speech here and there, the public speech, the speech in the Western countries like U.S., British. During her speech, she always say, bring one story up. What is that story? It's about King Cyrus, the great Cyrus story. Okay, if you Google Cyrus, the Great, you will see that story is like all details. Briefly, what that story talk about was Iran's ancestor, which we call them Persian people. Okay, the Persian people saved Jewish people who used to live in Babylon city, because the Jewish people used to be they were the slaves in that city, and Persian people came in, saved them. Of course, the Jewish people opened the gate for the Persians army, and Persians army came into the city. They freed the city. They saved the Jewish people, and instead of rule the Jewish people as slaves again, they allow Jewish people become free. You are free to go. You can return to your own land, which we all know the story about their land. They always want to return to a land called Jerusalem. Maybe my pronounce is a little bit wrong, but you all know what I'm talking about, right? So in Jewish history, they treat that history seriously, because if without Persian people's help, they could not be free for a very long time, and they probably never gonna return to their own land. So they remember that, and that's why when King WarII's family ran into the U.S. after the 1979 revolution that happened in Iran, caused all that. They ran into the U.S. when the wife did all the speech. She kept bring that story up. So let me translate that story directly to you. What does she mean? She basically telling all today's Jewish people that you owe me. So who are those Jewish people today? Israel, U.S., mainly those two countries, right? And you all know the Jew is strong now. They have their own country. They control a lot of tech companies. Those giants companies, and they have a real deep roots in the government, U.S. government as well. So when King WarII's wife said all that, she basically saying, "Hey, you all owe me because my ancestors saved your ass. So now, in return, I want you to save my people in Iran." And finally, we saw yesterday, U.S. did the strike with Israel in Iran, and they gave the Iran people a real good chance to free them. Okay, I think the attack is still going on. I don't know how long that's gonna continue. I hope it's not too long, and eventually the Iran people can take over and build their own country. Okay, so that's the story behind that, and that's why I said Iran and Jewish, they used to be brothers. After Iran helped the Jewish people, be free from the Babylon's control, they build a very strong bond and banding. They used to be married to each other, joined to each other's country, all that. But we all saw what happened when totally different um, when you have a king, not king, a leader that who use a very crucial way to rule the country, how a freedom country can turn into totally different in such like 50 years, right? So that's what I want to talk about the Iran and the Israel history. um, and that also remind me about the Israel history that happened in China. I think most people don't know that history, including myself. I learned that like a couple of years ago, because in today's China's mainland, this kind of story is kind of forbidden. People don't mention that. It's why is that? Political reason, of course. Um, when you talk about Iran, I believe today's people, if you just based on your common understanding, you divide Iran into Russia, with China, with those type of countries group, right? Because they are the country that totally different with the rest of the Western world. The Western world, people can freely speak, you can protest, you can vote for your own president, right? Or at least vote for your region leader, right? In China, in Russia, in Iran, you cannot. All those are determined by the high level themselves. And because the people do not have the votes, so the governments in those countries, they're not scared about people. They can rule you anyway, whatever the way they want to rule you. Okay? Because you don't have votes, what you gonna do to me? And they have armies, they have money, they control all the economies. So it's not a marketing economy, it's like control the economy. I want you to produce this one, you gotta produce this one. Even the market does not require these products, I want you to produce that, you produce that. That's how crazy the economy in those three countries. And I can keep on and on, but what I want to talk about next is the Israel people, the Jewish people, the history that the special connection with China back in 19 19 around 1890s to 1930s. That time, we all know that was during the Second World War, right? So the German, the Nazi being hunting down the Jewish people globally. So Russian that time was a souvenir. They opened a gate for some of the Jewish people, saying, "Okay, if you come here, help me build the construction of a railway, you can have a place to stay freely." Okay, so there's about significant amount of the Jewish people went to souvenir, and eventually that railway build is come through the city in China called Harbin. Harbin you can consider as like the Minnesota in the U.S. It's a city in the north, like very cold in winter, super cold. And at the peak time in city Harbin, there are over 20,000 people. 20,000 Jewish people lived in Harbin, grow up and lives. Their people have a life there. They have built the facilities there, not just a railway. They built up a hospital. They built up a school in that city. They live decades there. And even today, if you ever have a chance to travel to China, go to that city Harbin, Harbin. That's how you spell in English. You will see there a public Jewish cemetery there. There are over 800 graves still there. I believe a previous president of Israel, I can't remember the name, but one or two, their grandparents' graves are in Harbin today. You can Google find your own result, but Uncle Young cannot remember the details. Okay, but you can Google and find out those details. But that's how many people used to live in Harbin, that Chinese city, during the Second World War, and then Japan started to invade China. When Japan started invade China, it even squeezed the Jewish people's living space even harder, because Japan that time was with the German, right? Today is, of course, Japan with the U.S., but that time during the Second World War, you all know the story. You all know Japan bombed the Pearl Harbor in the U.S., right? They used to stand with the Nazi and hunt the Jewish people too. So when Japan was in China, they started hunting down Jewish people in Harbin. So what are those Jewish people gonna do? They start to run, right, to escape. And during that time, it's not just the Jewish people in China. They have people in Austria. They have people in Poland. They all run. They all jump on the ships and run. And people in China, they of course they move on the mainland. The whole world during that time, 1930, 1920, 1930, US, Canada, Australia, any today's civilized country name that you can name today, they close the gate for the Jewish people. None of them willing to let the Jewish people come in. The whole world only have one city, not a country, one city allows to open the gate for them. The name is Shanghai. Okay, most people don't know that story either, huh? Shanghai was the only city willing to open the gates to take the Jewish people, who today you consider as a refugee. That time Jewish people ran away the hunting by the Nazis, by the Japanese, by the other countries stand with them. Only Shanghai opened the gate. At the peak time, there are over 25,000, even more Jewish people. They hide in Shanghai. They live with the Shanghai local people. They live with them, like in their families, because you cannot just have a whole group of just Jewish people live in that area. It's too easy to be targeted. Other people been searching for you, trying to hunt you down. So the only way is you live with the local people in their house, in their family. Go ask the old Jewish people. They for sure remember that history, right? Shanghai was the only place open the gate. So those people from Harbin, they moved to Shanghai. Those ships could not park in any other country. They eventually came to Shanghai and hide there until the Nazi lost the war, until Japan lost the war, which was 1945. Then they finally got a chance to move away from there and find their own country, right? Their own land. That's another history people don't mention. So that's not too long ago. If you do the calculation, that's only like 70, 80 years ago. The Chinese people and Jewish people, which is today's US and Israel, right? They all had such a strong bonding as well. But you look at today, like I said, Iran, China, they against the US so much. But that time, they was such helping each other's back. And then there's another history story too. Not too long ago, same time. I don't know if the US school teach that history. That's also during the Second World War. the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force helped the Chinese people a lot, like very much, sacrifice hundreds of young pilots to secure that and secure the main supply line against Japan. So China was in the war against Japan that time in the Chinese mainland, right? Because Japan invaded China. And there was one main supply chain line that shipped all the goods, the food, the weapons, all that. U.S. Army volunteered, the Air Force volunteered to protect that support line. And how they protect that was very admired and sad story to talk about. Imagine this is China, and the east coast is today's Shanghai, Hong Kong, Guangzhou. Those are east coast, and all the way up to Xiamen, Harbin. Japanese controlled all the east coast. Okay, the richest cities in China. They own it. So the U.S. cannot send their people and protect the mainstream supply line from the east coast. So how they did was they came through the India, which is this side, fly all the way to Kunming. That's the city in China. And from India, this is China. India was right here, this side, which is today's Tibet. And Tibet have the highest mountain in this world. They have so many super highest mountains there. So when you're trying to fly over from India to China through that direction, it's very challenging during that time, because the flights during that time cannot fly like today's heights. They cannot. They fly way lower than today's. So they give the flying that line a name called the hump line. What does that mean? You know the hump means, right? Up and down, up and down, up and down. That's exactly how they fly to secure the line, because of those Himalaya mountains. When the U.S. pilot, the Air Force, they fly, they have to press the gas so hard so the flight can go above the mountain. And then when they at the peak of a mountain, they lose the power, because the flight at that time they could not fly that high. So at a certain point they lose the power. So they start to flying down, flying down. And luckily here is a valley. Okay, here's a valley. But then again, another mountain right here. So they have to press the gas all over again to fly above the second mountain, over and over again. So that's how they call it a hump line. Up, down, up, down, up, down. And that was one of the most dangerous assignments or mission during the Second World War, was to secure the Chinese main supply line for Chinese army. When you just try that hump line the first several times, you didn't know how to, when to press the gas, when to fly down, when to press it. You didn't know. So many U.S. flights crashed there. How many? About 600. You hear me right. 600 U.S. Air Force flights crashed during that hump line. Over 1,600 pilots and the crews on the flight, those young soldiers, U.S. soldiers, died, sacrificed their young life. They were super young. They was 20 years old, 22, 24 years old, super young people. They sacrificed their life for that hump line. Okay, so this is right at the line that those young people volunteer to sacrifice against the Nazis, against those invade, to help the Chinese people. Nothing in return. Nothing in return. It's not for oil. It's not for money. Nothing. It's just one belief that we need to help the people there. Okay, we need to help the people in China. This many people died. Eventually, they find out how to do the hump line correctly. Okay, how they do it? When you go, like I said, this is a mountain. This is a flag. When you go up and go down, how do you know when to press the gas? Because there's so many flag crashed in that valley. So when the sunshine shining down, you know the air flights crash, they are metals, right? So when the sunshine shining down, those crash reflect the sunshine, so it's become a nature made sign that when the pilot in the flight, they can see those flashing in their eye. They know, oh, when they see the flashing right before that flashing spot, I need to press the gas. Otherwise, I'm gonna drop just like them. That's how they know when to press the gas. They build up upon the previous people, those young pilots who sacrificed for them. Very crucial, hardest assignment during the Second World War. I bet a lot of people, even US people today, you don't know that, right? Uncle Yang tell you today. And the Chinese government, today's government, don't even say one word, not even say any one thanks to that. If you say US did so many wrong things for the world, right? Whatever, people always curse about and talk about US did wrong. But for China, US haven't done even one thing that Chinese people can curse them back. No. To Chinese people, US in the history only helped them, nothing but help them. But today's Chinese government and even say any one thank you to US. They just take it. They don't say thank you. Why is that? Political reason. During the 1930s, 40s, that time China called the Republic of China. If you look at the flag, it's today's Taiwan's flag. You are right. Today's Taiwan actually they continue with the older Chinese governmental system. That's another history story. Today's People's Republic of China, which is a totally red flag with 5 stars, that's the communism controlled the Chinese. Okay, the old days wasn't communism. The old days, the U.S. help was today's Taiwan's government. Right? Taiwan now they choose a different government, different party. Just like here in the U.S., you have different parties. Every year you have election. People choose a different president, and different president maybe belongs to different parties, right? That time, when the Republic of China's government lost the war, the inner Chinese war, they ran into Taiwan and stayed there. So if you look at the flag, that's why I said the flag was during the Japanese war, that was the same flag as today's Taiwan's flag. So if you know all those history, you will be like, damn, 70, 80 years ago, we are families, like we are brothers, like we all help each other. And China at that time helped US too. What did China do? So the US flights that time need to bomb the Japan, right? Drop a bomb in Japan because they were in the war. US have all those navies. The flights took off from the navies, right? All those ships, and then bombed the Japanese mainland. But that time, the flight could not fly all the way back to the ships. Why is that? After you took off, the US Navy ran because the Japanese Navy was super strong that time. If you didn't run, Japanese Navy can attack you right away. So it's a one-way mission. You took off, you drop a bomb, you're on your own. So what those young pilots do, they fly to China. Okay, those U.S. Pilots, they drop a bomb in Japan, they fly to China, and those fly basically abandoned in China. It's like a one way, like I said. They fly to China, find somewhere they can park. They park. Some of them crash. It's not like today's you have an airport to park your flight. No, you find somewhere flat. You look like it's flat. You boo, force yourself to park. Some of them survived. So they hide in China, in those villages, in those small towns. It's mainly in Shandong, Hebei, those like inner side of China, inner cities. Until the 1945, the Japan totally surrendered. Then they finally have a chance to went back to their own country. If you Google, you will find that story too. Google the name of flying tigers. Okay, flying tiger. You will find those stories. Like I said, not too long ago, we were brothers. How today it become two against each other? Because people don't even, I won't even use the word people forget history, because people don't even know the history. That's the problem. That's why I think it's important today for me to share some of those history stories, because people don't even know the history. School don't teach that. People have no interest to learn that. But those history really tells you what's really going on with ourselves as a human being. We could be so well in the past, like two brothers, and then 30, 40 years later, we step in each other's back. And 40, 50 years not too long for a country history, right? It may be very long time for a human, but not too long for a country's history. And if you don't know history, you don't learn from the mistake in the history. History going to repeat over and over and over again. Humans history, if you read, it's just changing names. It's just changing names, change the people race, change the name about the country name, religion name, whatever. Land, like the area, region name, they change the name. But the main story never change. You help somebody and someone else jump on, turn 180 degree, you start to stab each other. And that's sad to watch. That's sad even to think about. When Uncle Yang say all those stories today, it's very sad to even talk about all that, because we could do way better. We could continue the friendship, the brotherhood even to today. Imagine if US and China are brothers, like we support each other's back. I believe that today's world will be way, way, way more better than what it is now. Okay, today's technology, today's our the technology, the science that we have, no one should start. No one should experience starving. Nobody should be struggling about clean water, clean food. Nobody. But the reality is still a lot of people struggling just for that. I'm not even talking about somewhere warm to stay, some good medical condition. No, just food and water. Still, so many people starving. Why is that? Because humanity. Because we don't want to learn from history. We let the greediness. We allow all those evilness to control ourselves. That's why. That's why Uncle Yang started this channel. I call myself as an entertainment channel, but really through the entertainment, I want to share the historical story. I want to bring the Tao stuff so people can have a positive, healthy mind. That's the main purpose. No push telling you to believe in anything, but I want to bring a positive impact to the people who listen to me talking. Yeah, so I think that's all I want to share for today's history. And like I said, I really wish Iran people can take over the control of their own land. The whole war thing, the whole strike can be ended very soon. People need to stop dying and suffering. They can finally build their own happy land for themselves. And I don't know what's the motivation for President Trump did that. I feel like maybe for his own middle term election, he got to do something positive. He got also because oil there, things like that. Also, I bet Khamenei and his team pissed Trump up, right? Because they've been saying we're gonna negotiate, and then the next day, no, I'm not. And then Trump like, what the? Trump's personality is like, if you mess up with me, yeah, you're gonna get your ass beat up, right? So for no matter whatever reason, he eventually provides a good chance for the Iran people to free themselves, right? And that's what Dao been saying. It's very interesting if you think that way. Old days, Israel people, they all Iran's, because Iran's ancestor, Persian people freed the Israel people, right? Today's Israel, but that time Jewish people. In some way, today, the Jewish people turned that favor in return, give that favor back in return to free their country when they be ruled by such a bad government. They provide that in return. Now, I help you destroy your current government. You can have a chance to build your own country all over again. So different. The story can be very detailed and different, but at a high level, the Tao keep the balance. You do something good in the history, you will get paid in the future. What time? Don't know, but you will get paid when you're in trouble. Okay? So always do good things, do positive things. You will get paid either in this life, I hope. If not, believe that people, flesh body can die, but your soul will not die. Okay, soul continue forever. You will come back to this world, maybe in another different universe. I don't know, but if you do something good today, this life, you will get in return. You do something bad, you get something bad in return. Always be like that. That's what Tao described. Okay, and then that happened for Israel's people and Iran's people. Okay, all right. Thank you so much for listening. If you like my video, please click like, and if you're interested for the future video, please subscribe. And thank you so much for listening. Have a good day.